And here's my final interview with Constance from Champagne Lallier, tasting her 2018 vintage champagne.
And now we're gonna test the vintage.
Yes.
And this one, it's very powerful, so it depends what you like.
Definitely need new glasses after the rosé, so let me grab those from around the corner.
So normally a vintage, it's aged at least 5 years on lees. But this one, it was aged 9 years. And we still get some 2008 on lees at the winery. So if you want to order more, of course it's possible. And it will age like more time on lees. So yeah, all the grapes come from 2008. And we put on this one 45% of Chardonnay and 55% of Pinot Noir. On the vintage, we will put a little bit more Chardonnay because we'll have more acidity and more freshness. And it's very important to keep to have a nice acidity and freshness as well if you want to age your wine. So you will test it and you will say to me what you think. But it will be more. It's more powerful, more complexity. You have deeper note of maturity, so it's like more honey, wax as well.
And I just wrote a post this week talking about good vintages, the differences between different vintages and how the weather. 2008, fair to say, was a pretty good vintage.
Yeah, exactly. It was for almost all the champagne house. It was a wonderful vintage as 2006, because to have a good vintage, so the winter it's always cold, no worries. But after it's important if you have a spring like hot, warm, and a little bit dry. And after it's important for the flowering. If it's not too windy as well, because if it's too windy, the flower gonna go away.
Yep.
And you will have some small disease after. So if same, it's for the summer, it's hot and dry with a little bit of rain at this time, it's perfect. And if in July you don't have, and August you don't have, if in August, sorry, you don't have too much rain, it's perfect because like this, maturation, the concentration of your berries will be like very fun. You will have more sugar and if you have some rain, in fact, it's gonna put some water in the berries. So that the concentration with the acidity and sugar will be with the water. It will be like less. You want berries like very rich. So powerful. yeah. And the best is if you have a little bit and if the humidity is not too high, it's perfect as well because if you have too humidity and bad weather, you will have some botrytis.
Yeah.
So you have I just say like very quickly, but you have so many things. It's nice as well if you have a slow maturation. So if you have a colder night. During like September, for example, and if the weather the day is hot and dry as well. So.
Yeah. It's such a must be so hard because so much of what you do is completely and utterly out of your control as winemakers. Yeah. You can be the most talented at tending to the vines and in the cellars doing the blending, but the weather comes along and the weather gods will bless you or not. It's
scary. It's scary sometimes because like for example last year many wineries get some frost and after some a lot of rain, so that breaks the berry. If you have too much rain like in August, it's terrible because it's gonna break all the berry, and after with the humidity it's full of disease, so it's and hopefully us we didn't get, so it was perfect. But I have some friends in Bordeaux, they lose like 85% of the production. And when you lose some production like this year, it will be also the same the year after. You won't have a very good production the year after. So
which the bad news for us is that potentially there's not enough champagne to go around. No, the beauty, I guess, is the Champagne region's relatively big. So if the area at the north is affected, maybe vineyards from the south
it's more the south this year.
That gets affected. So it doesn't necessarily wipe out the entire region, but it's.
And because of the reserves wine as well, you can balance in Champagne, and they just lose 15 or 20% of the grapes sometimes, and or maybe more, of course, in the south. But with the reserves wines, you always can balance. So they won't do a vintage, definitely, but they can do a brut and a rosé and blanc de blanc, good, because they will put 30 or 40% of reserves wines. And us, we were lucky because we always put less than 20% of reserve wine, so good.
Yeah. Is there a trend for doing how it's up to obviously each house or each grower, producer, how often they call a vintage, but do you think vintages are being called more often, or it hasn't really changed in terms of the number of, in 10 years they'd call maybe 3 vintages? Is that increasing or not really changing?
No, it depends. For example, us, we did the vintage 2003, 2002, 3, 6, 8, 10, and after we will see. Normally 14.
Yeah.
But it depends for every champagne house. Yeah. For champagne house, 2003 and 2010, that wasn't good at all.
Weren't good years, no. But you did make a 2003?
Yeah. Because for us, our vineyards were very well located, and so we didn't get any disease, and the acidity was perfect. With the balance with sugar and acidity was very good. So, in fact, we did it. It depends. Every champagne house are different. It's like for in wine, the terroir, everything, it's all different. That's why us, it's very nice because we built a new cellar in 2012 and we have 55 vats inside. So we keep every parcel separately.
So each vineyard, you separate them for the
and because it's small vineyards in Champagne, so every vineyard it's kept separately. And like this, you can take care every terroir, every variety. So it's very some people just can't keep separately everything, so they have to blend, and sometimes the quality when you blend not good enough.
Yes,
it depends. Sometimes they don't want to do vintage.
But I think the good thing is Champagne, your reputation is the quality, no matter what the house, it's the region, it's all about the quality, so you can be assured that you're not going to compromise on quality. Speaking of quality and good vintages, we've got this sitting in front of us and we've resisted having oh wow.
Yeah. Wow. This is my favorite. After it depends if you like complexity and richness like this, but it's always this one.
Wow, that's really
that's very lovely.
It is old, but it's not. It smells really aged to me.
But because of this disgorging date, it's young. You have still this nice freshness and even a small acidity, but not so aggressive. So it's very.
For a pretty evenly balanced blend as well. You said 55 Pinot Noir and 45 Chardonnay. Yes, no, that is absolutely gorgeous. I think it's probably been 18 months since I tried the 2008.
Yeah.
So I must have had it probably when it was maybe first released. So I can see that it has really, and I probably did think at the time, and I might have even put it on my Instagram, it might have been a bit young, but now, wow.
Yeah. So that's why if you drink maybe too soon after the disgorging date, or if it was like 6 or 7 years on lease, I don't know which one you test it, but it's always changed. Like for example, yesterday my friend told me, oh, it's strange, I tasted all the bottle of 2008 and it was, I felt this difference. I was like, did you check the disgorging date? And we check it and it was like 2016 one and 2017 the other one, and I was like, it's normal. And so that's why it's important and interesting to put the disgorging date on the back label.
Which is, and I wrote a post about how to store champagne, which is a funny place for it to come up, but that's where it came up about disgorgement date on the back of the bottle. Not every house does it, so there's inconsistency. So you don't necessarily know when you get the champagne in Australia anyway. But there is a trend towards doing it more often, and I think the geekier you are about your champagne, and I get pretty geeky about it, the more interesting that is to be able to see that as well. So wow, that's just amazing. That was my last tasting with Constance from Champagne Lallier. So I'd like to thank you very much for watching. Please check out the other tasting videos if you haven't seen them, as well as the 2008 vintage we've tried here. We also enjoyed the Rosé, the Blanc de Blanc, and their R013. So check those videos out too. And don't forget, in Australia, you can order Champagne Lallier at thewinemporium.com. Thanks for watching.